Good morning, students. In the last video, we have studied about an activity in which it was proved that sunlight is required for the photosynthesis as well as green plants prepare starch as a food. Fine. So, today we will continue our topic and we will come to know, is there another organism which can perform photosynthesis? The answer is yes. These organisms are called as algae. Alga is singular and algae, these are the plural terms. So what are algae? These are the living organisms, fine, which are green in color. Green slimy patches near the pond or near the stagnant water bodies. Stagnant water मतलब जहाँ पर पानी हमेशा रुका रहता है. बहुत आम भाषा में आप जिसे काई बोलते हो, that kai is actually what? Algae. Fine. So algae are what actually? The green slimy patches in the pond or near the stagnant water bodies. Fine. These algae can prepare their food with the help of photosynthesis. Now how they will prepare their food? Obviously they are green in color. That means they are having pigment called as chlorophyll, and with the help of this pigment they can make their food by the process of photosynthesis. Fine. Because we know that this chlorophyll pigment trap the sunlight and then utilize this sunlight for the formation of food. Fine. So along with the green plants, these algae, these are the living organisms. Fine. They can also make their food through photosynthesis due to the presence of chlorophyll pigment. Fine. Now next is, what are the factors which will affect the process of photosynthesis? There are some external factors as well as the internal factors which affect the process of photosynthesis. What are external factors which are present outside the plant? Okay. For example, the intensity of the light, sunlight you can say. Fine. Early in the morning or even in the evening, what happens? Plants neither absorb CO2 nor release O2. Why? Because intensity of the light is very low. Fine. When the intensity of the light is high, then the photosynthesis will get high. Rate of the photosynthesis will be more. Obviously, because the prime need for the photosynthesis is the sunlight. Okay. Second requirement for the photosynthesis is the CO2. Means what is the concentration of CO2 in the air, whether they are getting accurate CO2 or not. Next is the temperature. There are different type of the plants adapted to the different temperature. Some plants perform the photosynthesis at low temperature. However, some are adapted to perform the photosynthesis at higher temperature. Okay. And the last is water. Obviously, without water, how photosynthesis will take place? Fine. So these four are the external factors: intensity of light, concentration of CO2, temperature and water. Now, what are the internal factors? Internal factor means which are present within the plant, like chlorophyll content. Obviously, chlorophyll pigment present in the green leaves, and second is the product formed during the photosynthesis. So these two are the internal factors which affect the process of photosynthesis. Now why photosynthesis is important, or you can say what is the significance of the photosynthesis? Fine. So this photosynthesis helps in maintaining balance between oxygen and CO2 in the atmosphere. We know that CO2 is a greenhouse gas, and if there will be increase in the level of CO2 in the atmosphere, then what happens? Global warming will take place, fine. And we know that plants during the photosynthesis absorb CO2 and release O2 for us, okay. So they help to maintain a balance between oxygen and CO2 in the atmosphere, and sunlight is necessary for the photosynthesis. So we can say that sun is the ultimate source of energy on the earth, fine. So these were the factors, external and the internals, which affect photosynthesis, and this is the significance of the photosynthesis. Next is the synthesis of plant food other than carbohydrates. What it means? That plants can make only carbohydrates, or there is the requirement of only carbohydrates. They don't need any other nutrient like protein or the fats. Plants also need proteins and the fats besides carbohydrates, fine. Just like ours body, various components of the food are carbohydrate, proteins or fats, और हमें ये सभी चाहिए. In the same way, plants also need all the nutrients like proteins, fats, carbohydrates, etc. Fine. Now what are proteins? Proteins are the nitrogenous substance. Nitrogenous substance means which contains nitrogen, and nitrogen is a mineral which is required by the plants for its growth and for making leaves. Fine. Now we know that there is abundant amount of the nitrogen in the atmosphere. 78% of the nitrogen is present in atmosphere, but plants cannot utilize this atmosphere as it is, fine. So plants will take the nitrogen from the soil. How? There are certain type of the bacteria present in the soil called as rhizobium. Rhizobium is singular and rhizobia are plural, okay. So rhizobium bacteria present in the soil, what these bacteria will do? They will convert the gaseous nitrogen, means the nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere. They will convert this nitrogen into the useful form so that plants can utilize this nitrogen, okay. So rhizobium bacteria will convert the gaseous nitrogen into a useful form and then release it into the soil, and after that plants will absorb these soluble forms of the nitrogen along with the water as well as the other nutrients through their roots, because nitrogen is not the only mineral required by the plants. There are other minerals also which are required by the plants like phosphorus or potassium, fine. Let me tell you the importance of these three, fine. Nitrogen, N. Nitrogen helps the plant to grow and make leaves. P means phosphorus. This phosphorus helps in growing strong roots, and K is the potassium which keeps the plant healthy and also help the plant in making fruits, fine. Now what happens? Farmers continue cultivating their crops year after years, fine. अपनी जो crops हैं उन्हें grow कराते हैं year after year. Because of this continuous farming, what happens? Nutrients keep decline in the soil, means nutrients की deficiency हो जाएगी soil में. In that case क्या होगा? Fertilizers will be added into the soil by the farmers. Farmers will add the fertilizers. NPK fertilizers are added in the field. Why? To fulfill the need of nitrogen or the other minerals, fine. So in this way plant will get the nitrogen and the other nutrients, and after the fulfillment of all the nutrients एक बार प्लांट ने गेन कर लिए सभी न्यूट्रिएंट्स, देन प्लांट विल सिंथेसाइज प्रोटीन्स एंड fats along with the carbohydrate. So carbohydrate is not the only food which is taken up or which is made up by the green plants. Apart from carbohydrates, plants synthesize proteins as well as fats, and for making proteins and fats they require various minerals present in the soil. Fine.